thank you all for tuning in to Sophisticated Sunday. I'm going to be your reader for today, Negzo, and this is my co-host.
Priestess David Divine, also known as Osun Funke.
And we're going to be talking about a bunch of random topics today, but they all flow with each other, and usually we're talking to you all about ancestral worship. Today I made sure to construct my interview guide to speak to some of the everyday experiences you all may have had in regards to trying to seek information from these virtual gurus on Facebook and YouTube. And I just wanted to, take out some time to throw a lot of shade, make a lot of critiques. I won't be saying names, but I will begin by saying this. When I first got on, when I was first introduced into this craft, I created my own Facebook group, and I would read in different Facebook groups that had 20, 30,000 members in them, and in these groups I'd see many mediocre readers. They were mediocre, and they could be from Nevada, they could be from the UK, they could be from Australia, and I was always appalled at their level of inaccuracy. And then they would give advice to the other members in the group, poor advice, and people would follow it. And these people were making money, and I found that incredibly disgusting. So I wanted to talk to you about some things that you've experienced in the past 2 weeks. And my first question was, what comes to your mind when you think about janky ass spell work? I was just talking about janky ass divination, where it seems that people are more focused on regurgitating advanced articulations of whatever can be found in the tarot book rather than using their actual intuition to divine somebody's to divine about somebody's situation. So, what comes to your mind when you think about janky ass spiritual work?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is when it just looks janky. You get what I'm saying? The internet is a blessing and a curse. It gives us a bird's eye view into anyone's life who's willing to open a window. And I have had the unfortunate and regrettable experience of actually watching some rituals performed online lately. And I was completely horrified by the just the retardedness of the way the work was put together. Generally when you do work, you are going to need a deity. Most people use a deity if you're going to do any sort of heavy lifting. And so if you don't have a deity that is involved in the work, or you have deities from completely unrelated pantheons, or you have deities and the task that you're giving them has absolutely nothing to do with the parts of the physical realm that they have dominion over, all of those things are red flags to me. The unfortunate thing is that many people who are seeking out these workers don't know the difference, and that's unfortunate, But if I would say that if you enlist or hire a worker, and they tell you, yeah, I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to use Ogun and Krishna, that would kind of be a red flag to me, because that those two deities are from completely different pantheons. Another thing, spiritual work is very expensive. It's just very expensive, and we've talked about that on previous shows, and I don't think we necessarily need to revisit the whys of that. But if you are able to get spiritual work done for $33 or even $77, and they're going to help you, make $1 million, or they're going to return a lost love to you, or really anything outside of maybe a spiritual bath or some sort of a cleansing, if it's under $300 or $400, they don't know what they're doing.
I'm gonna be specific. I've got two specific examples of some janky ass spiritual work. Um, you know, Osun Funke sent me a video from this couple on Facebook that they do some awful shit, and I can't believe the amount of views that they've amassed on YouTube and the amount of money that they've made between suckering y'all niggas on YouTube and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And they really got y'all believing that they are the apostles and the new coming of any form of salvation. So I think I was most shocked when I saw the woman posting her spell on Facebook, and the spell involved 4 different deities. And she starts out saying, I'm going to work with Obatala, and I'm going to have Obatala open my robes, and I'm also going to and then they had an image of fucking Twitter and Pornhub, and they were like, I'm going to draw from the sexual energy of Pornhub and from Twitter, and then they had a bunch of tea light candles in the shape of an arrow pointing to another deity, which I think was Ganesh, and then after Ganesh it was Oshun, and then from Oshun it was Saint Expedite, and then they said that they were going to sell this spell to people for $48. They were going to give you all the list of supplies, and if you wanted a one-on-one class, they would charge you all $200 to mimic the fuckery that they put on their counter. And then I said to myself, self, and self said, huh? I said, self, is this some bullshit? And self said, God damn it, yes.
Yes.
And I vomited spiritually. The second time I can talk about some janky ass spell work is actually some shit that I did, and I'm gonna bring this up. Now, my godfather tried to tell me back in Haiti, and my god sister told me too. Make sure that the spirits will tell you how much your spell work is supposed to be, and they'll tell you how much the clients they gotta pay, and you just know what it is. I charged less than $150 to break up a couple. And this couple was younger, okay? And let's just put it this way. Did it work? It was supposed to. There were a lot of factors that went into why it didn't work, but let's begin here. That janky-ass price that I charged definitely did not encourage my subjects or my clients to will to power their intentions. Mm-hmm. And because they didn't believe in what was going on, I just discontinued the spell work and refunded them their money. I'm putting my tea on out there to say that admittedly, I've done some janky ass shit. Now, I've not done a janky ass setup, and I haven't. I guess you could say I haven't performed the rituals in the janky ass way, but in charging a janky ass price to a janky ass customer, I got some janky ass results and ended up refunding this person their money. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to fire myself from my own goddamn business. Okay? So, my next question for you is it blasphemous to teach people to mix deities from different pantheons in your spell work?
So, I don't know if I would use the word blasphemous, because that's, the whole fire and brimstone, Christianity perspective.
It's blasphemous.
Well, what I think it is ineffective and irresponsible. Every pantheon, and I can't say that with absolute certainty, but I believe that, and it is my experience of the pantheons that I have studied, that most pantheons have energies that would mirror that of other pantheons. So if you need a road opener, you're going to find one in the Hindu pantheon. You're going to find one in the Yoruba pantheon. You're going to find one in Haitian Vodun, and you're going to find one in New Orleans Voodoo. So, that being said, I don't know that it's necessary, first of all, to mix pantheons. Because if you are familiar with the pantheon, which is the only time that you should endeavor to work with deities, and that's if you are familiar with the culture and the framework that they come out of, and you do not become familiar by watching a YouTube video or joining a Facebook group. But if you are in fact familiar with a pantheon, then you would know the deities that exist in that framework, and you would know who can do what it is that you need to do. So I think that it doesn't make sense to mix deities from different pantheons, because even the rituals are different. The expectation and the relationship and the dominion that you have over those energies, and the dominion that they have over you, and the areas that they govern in your life, are going to be vastly different from pantheon to pantheon. So you may have, you call on an Orisha, for example, to get a work done. Orishas like blood. You don't have to sacrifice animals for them, but it's quite common, especially if your work is preceded by divination, that you will have to feed an Orisha or do an Ebo. So you do that Ebo for this one deity. And then, so let's say you do a work, today is Ogun Day, so you do a work for Baba Ogun, and you offer him a rooster, but then you get the bright idea to put Athena in this spell work. Well, how does one conjure Athena? How do you call her? How do you pay her or task her or feed her? And is that going to be in alignment with the same with how you feed Ogun? You get what I'm saying? And do they play nice together? And are your ancestors in agreement with you calling on this deity that has nothing to do with your bloodline? And not only that, not only does it matter if your ancestors are in agreement, but is it permissible? Is it even permissible? Are your ancestors going to have to do Eba? Are they going to have to pay for your transgression? Are they going to have to scurry around in the spirit realm and try to clean up your mess because you have offended 100 ancestors, between your most recent ones and your most ancient, and all of the deities in between? You get what I'm saying? So I just feel like, and these are things that people don't take into account. They don't think about it when they're Googling how to do a spell. And they find absolute nonsense. And then you guys, and this is what really fucks me up, you'll go and pay somebody to do this shit for you. And they don't know their ass from their elbow.
It is blasphemous to do it. Period, point blank. It is blasphemous. It is unnecessary. It is ineffective. But most of all, it is blasphemous.
Explain blasphemous.
Well, I'll be voodoo centric, and I'll say that for anybody that has, you've done the Gay Day ceremonies, we all know the song "Baron is a God." Baron is not a deity. Baron is a loa. Baron is a god. There is a hierarchy in Haitian voodoo that everyone has to acknowledge. Not all of the loa are created equally. And I'm thinking about the particular individual that I'm thinking about has a video on YouTube speaking about their work with Baron and how Baron, they describe Baron almost as though he was a poltergeist, and he would give people diarrhea and flush the toilet and shit. And so I was appalled, but I was also thinking to myself, there were some descriptions of the energy of Baron that were quite accurate. So I was like, you're working with Baron, but it's not hard to access the energy of Baron because he's everywhere. That being said, Baron is a fucking god. So I don't know how in the hell you are putting these lesser bitch deities from other pantheons in the same room as a god.
Yeah.
And getting them to work together when Baron doesn't do work. He's got the entire underworld to do work. He's got his zombies. He's got his Gay Day. He's got his wife. He's got his kid. And I just never thought in a million years that I would see someone that wasn't initiated telling other people that weren't initiated how to work with Baron based off of their trifling ass experiences, mixing different deities from different pantheons and living in a rental house.
The thing about it is, as above, so below. So people who are not initiated, and listen, I'm not an evangelist for African traditional religions. I'm not an evangelist at all. But what I am is a priestess. and I'm also an ordained minister, and I'm also a theologian, and I've devoted my life to studying religious structure, religious organization, theology, and different traditions. I'm a Pan-African spiritualist. And one thing that I know for sure, let me get back to what I was saying, as above, so below, just like there are hierarchies here in the physical world. You have managers, assistant managers, call center employees, and janitors. You get what I'm saying? In the spirit world, you have gods, okay? You have the Most High God, creator of all that there is. Then you have gods or demigods. You have energy angels. You have demons. You have rogue astral spirits. You have, ghosts. You have fucking garden gnomes, you guys. Fairies. You know what I'm saying? There are all kinds of, just like there are different tribes and races in the spirit world, in the physical world, they also exist in the spirit world. And so a lot of people are just calling them all deities, and they're calling on this one and they're calling on that one. And like Nexo said, I guess blasphemous is the right word. That's the right word. Because you cannot put Barone and Morgan in the same sentence. Really? You can't put Barone and a garden gnome, and I'm not saying that Morgan is a garden gnome. Those of you who listen, that's not what I'm saying. But if you can't do that. First of all, it doesn't make sense. Secondly, it's disrespectful. Thirdly, you don't know what the hell you're doing if you think that's a good idea. And the problem that I have with it is that it shows that people, people don't understand or respect the need for initiation. Our ancestors spent eons identifying deity, working with them, understanding what areas of our life and our world they govern, how they can help us, how we must interact with them, how do we show respect. These are things that were learned over eons. And they were put together in the form of initiations and religious institutions. And I know that a lot of us have church hurt, and we feel like we were bamboozled and lied to with Christianity, and so we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and we don't want to have anything to do with religion. But religion really is a process, and the word itself pretty much means doing something over and over again, and we all know that practice makes perfect. So I'm saying all that to say that without initiation, without any type of formal training, how can you ever hope to master something as complicated, something as important, something as dangerous as spiritual work, and you don't even want to put the time into understanding the environment and the people that these energies were born out of? How were they identified? Who were they identified by? Why was it even necessary to try to figure out who the fuck this was? You guys don't know that because you won't sit at the hem of your ancestors' garment and let them teach you. You want to get on Facebook and give somebody your debit card number and ask them to do whatever dastardly deed you feel like you have a right to commission. It's madness. And yes, it's blasphemous. Shoot.
Okay, I understand where people are hurt by religion, and they feel like because they can reject religion that they can also reject spiritual law. And
yes,
you can't do that. I understand that everyone wants to develop their own individual relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And the upside to developing your own individual relationship with God is that you enlighten yourself and realize that this is an experience that's more similar to the Matrix, than it is to what's written about in the Bible. That being said, the downside to focusing on relationship is that you ignore the importance of spiritual law, rules, structure, and spiritual order. This particular individual speaks a lot about developing an individual relationship with a particular deity and circumventing the entire initiation process to work with that deity. And they are spreading a tremendous wealth of misinformation to the public. And I want to speak about that as a voodoo priest, for example. Stop listening to these motherfuckers that tell you that you can work with Barone. Because the thing is that you're supposed to work with Bridget as well. You can't work with Barone and say I'm gonna bring Morgan in, and it's like Barone always walks with his wife.
Right. So who is this bitch?
You have now defiled the tradition. You are doing something that is so out of bounds, and there's a deity that you have not acknowledged, that you have not fed, that you have not worked with, and Bridget is much more sensitive than Barone. She's much more fragile than Barone. She's Bridget. If Barone is the energy of Joker from Batman, Bridget is Harlequin. The Harlequin. That's who she is. And I want to make you all aware that you are listening to these buffoons that are uninitiated, telling you to work with very dangerous deities that will kill your ass, hex you, and then they will want the blood of your children. The reason I'm initiating into Haitian voodoo is because my great-great-grandparents made a pact with Barone when they were in Haiti, and I have to do it. So be careful of the things that you listen to and the things that you do, because you are completely unaware of the contracts that you're signing by working with some of these deities, especially when you're forgetting about the partnership that is involved with working with them. Yes. We emphasize balance in Haitian voodoo. Yes. If you have the masculine, you have the feminine, but you got an idiot telling you all to just work with the masculine and then introduce a feminine from a completely different pantheon into this, defiling the traditional African practice that is Haitian Vodun. And you wonder why there's so much mystery, obscurity, and nebulousness about how to work with Barone when we're spending so much time just trying to clear up the stereotypes of the tropes that you can just do it this way. You can light him a candle, leave him some coffee, and
do a line of cocaine with him. You know, a lot of people think if you Google, actually, I'm sorry, it's not Barone. I'm thinking about Papa Legba. But if you Google Papa Legba, there is a site, and I cannot think of the name of it, which is probably best, but if you guys are able to find it on YouTube, let me know. But there's a site that if you look up Papa Legba, it says that one of his offerings are drugs.
So let me get into something. The Haitian Vodun Papa Legba. So we know there's Legba, and there's a Legwa.
A Legwa.
One is the road opener, one is the communicator. So when the Haitians...
We know that.
Decided to draw upon a traditional African religion, they said we can either do the road opener or we can do the communicator. They chose the road opener. And we know that sometimes in other traditional African religions, the road opener usually has two different personalities or two different ways of showing themselves. Papa Legba has one, in Haitian Vodou, he has one way of showing himself. This is an old ass man that cries all the motherfucking time. Okay, and the last thing that Papa Legba is thinking about in Haitian Voodoo is doing a line of cocaine.
Thank you.
With y'all. That is the last, and that in itself is blasphemous. Now, let me get you, I'm going to set something straight.
But see, Hollywood is with the shits too, though, because that's where a lot of people got that from, especially the American Horror Story Coven. You know, he was a baby stealing, cocaine snorting, monster. And
white people are paying a more severe price for the godly disrespect that they've shown to Haitian Voodoo. Hence, people that try to play the Joker killing themselves and never want to play the role again after they played it, even if they survive. So, don't fuck with it.
It's not to be fucked with.
Okay. How often do you see janky ass Spellwork on the internet?
Every time I'm on the fucking internet. Because I belong to a lot of groups. I belong to a lot of spiritual groups. And a lot of that, and I have subscribed to a lot of channels, some for entertainment value, of course, and yeah, so I see it every time I log on, honestly. And I think the reason for that is that people, American people in particular, we have this idea that we are free. And that we are free to do whatever we want as long as we don't, break a law. And that's a law, in the jurisdiction or municipality that one lives in. People don't even take the time to consider spiritual law, obviously. But yeah, American people believe that they are free and they think that they can do whatever they want. And that is a state of mind that is, especially when it comes to spirituality, that is very unique. And I have traveled enough all over this world, and I have studied enough and dealt with enough people from different traditions and different countries to know that that is something that is unique and not in a great way. You cannot do whatever you want to do. There's no such thing as autonomy when you're talking about another person's tradition. That's like me coming into your house and saying, oh, I'm a sovereign citizen. I can do whatever I want to up in here. It's within my right as a human being. No, it's not. You're in my shit. You got to do things the way I say do them, the way we agree that they should be done, or else. You get what I'm saying? And people do that all the time within these traditions. And it's Americans that do that. You will never, now you might find an African Babalawo that's scamming. You might find other types of transgressions, but when it comes to the tradition, they're going to follow the tradition. They're not going to play with it, as you said. It's unfuckwittable. They know that. They know the consequences of it. And let me tell you something else that you guys don't consider. You see these people online who are apparently, by all that we can see, they're successful. They're selling things. They're booking readings. They're, they seem to be doing well, and they're well received, and they're popular in what they're doing. And so it doesn't appear to us that they're having any karmic consequences. But let me tell you something. First of all, what you see online and what you're allowed to see through social media is smoke and mirrors for the most part anyway. But secondly, as Negzo said, these people are not thinking about the generations to come. They're not thinking about their descendants. And the way contracts work with a lot of these deities, they will give you what you ask for. They will give you what you want, because they're absolutely going to take it out of your ass later. They're going to take your soul. They're fucking with your ancestors as we speak, and you don't know, because you're not actually tuned into your ancestors. You think you're working with them, and all you're doing is giving them a fucking cup of coffee. You don't really know what's going on in the ancestor world. They already bought and sold because of the bullshit that you're on. But they're going to come for your children too. They're coming for your children too. And we wonder why we have bloodline curses. We wonder why our boys are getting shot in the street. We wonder why there's no forward progress in our community.
In African spirituality, a deity or a god is not an extension of your psychology. It is something that it rests completely outside of you. And if you ever encounter someone that is telling you that you can do what you want and you can walk around an initiation process and work with the deity and do things yourself,
they're a spiritual sociopath.
Their theology runs, and their theology is in opposition to the ways in which African spirituality is actually practiced, which is the deity is within you, but the deity is separate from you.
Right.
And
so fuel my fire, take me high.